Okay, so thank you guys so much. Let me turn my cell phone up there. Okay. Just for those of you who are not familiar with who I am, my name is Kelly Anders, and I was introduced to Melaleuca 11 years ago. At that time, my brother was, I'm sorry, Sarah, maybe you can turn the speakers of your computer up. I can't really, unless I'm yelling, I can't turn it up on my end. I mean, I can't, without yelling per se. So if you wouldn't mind trying to maybe adjust your speakers on your end, that might help a little bit. But when I was introduced to Melaleuca 11 years ago, my brother Casey had been battling non-Hodgkin's lymphoma for 17 months. So I was seeking out safer, healthier products to use in my home and my body. And what I found is I had to go out of my way to health food stores to find them. And they were 2 to 3 times more expensive than what I was using and really didn't work all that well. So when my friend told me there was a company that made high quality, safer products that they'd ship right to my door at competitive prices, I was really intrigued. And I became a shopper right away. It just made sense to me. At that time, I'd also racked up about 12 years in the financial planning insurance industry. I was vice president of operations of a firm, that a partner and I co-founded, and I was working 60 to 80 hours a week just to keep up. So when my brother lost his battle with cancer, it was kind of a life-changing situation for me, and I realized that life's too short not to be doing something you really love and that has meaning and enhances people's lives. And so when I also watched the person who introduced me to Melaleuca, Rebecca Connor, begin building her business, I couldn't ignore the results that she was having. And I saw that the advertising business attached to the shopping club was something I felt I could do. And that with that vehicle, I could design the life that I've always wanted and have a family and be available to my family the way I wanted to be. And I'm so grateful for the huge impact Melaleuca has had in my life, both physically and financially, and having more freedom to live in alignment with our values as a family as well. So I just wanted to paint a little background and where I'm coming from and kind of my story, if you will, with Melaleuca. But we're going to jump into our training, what it takes. You hear this a lot in Melaleuca. There's a big emphasis on the why, and there's a reason for that. You do need to have a strong why. It's an integral part of the culture of Melaleuca. And the why has to be extremely personal to you, meaning you can't build a business for someone else. It can't be about someone else. It has to be something that's really going to drive you from the inside. And, what is it that you want to do in your life, have in your life? What do you want to change about your life or establish? Is there a foundation or nonprofit or ministry work, or is it something, travel? Is it an experience that you want to have? Is it just a lifestyle that you want to have? Just getting really deeply in touch with that why is critical to building a business here. And we'll talk about why that is. But there was a quote that a gentleman named Jim McCune, he's a corporate director in Melaleuca, that I heard when I first enrolled 11 years ago. And he was on the Getting Started cassette tapes. I'm dating myself, but back then that's what we had. And similar to the Getting Started CDs you guys listen to now. And the quote goes like this: "The things you do today that you don't have to do will determine what you'll have and what you'll be when you're no longer able to do anything about it." And Jim said that he had that quote on his refrigerator as a constant reminder of, those times when he got discouraged, that, he had to stay the course and continue moving forward and be in touch with his why. It has to be important enough to compel you to take immediate action. It's so easy to fall into this, okay, I'll make those calls tomorrow, or I'll get to them later, I'm going to do it later. But that why has to drive you to take immediate action and to continue taking action when you don't feel like it, right? This is a real business. And if you treat it that way, for serious category 2s and 3s, and I'm speaking to people that really see themselves as senior and executive directors, you need to treat it like a real business. In any business, there are ups and downs. It ebbs and flows, and there will be things that happen along the way that'll cause you to question, is this for me? Does Melaleuca really work? Although it's getting harder and harder to question that with our results, right? With even our sales growth chart, you can't look at that and even question for a minute whether or not this works. Or more importantly, do I really want to do this? And that's what you need to get in touch with. Your dreams, your why, are just on the other side of that answer. And the only difference between, this is something I heard Frank Vandersloot say at it was either a regional celebration or something where there were people walking across stage and being recognized. I think it was senior directors and above. I believe it was actually a senior conference at convention. And he said the only difference between the people that you see up on this stage and those of you who are not here yet, and you can say the same thing if you're looking in your Leadership in Action magazine, and know that the only difference between the people you see there and those that you don't is that they didn't give up. That's the only difference. And you know that Frank has a heart for those people. I mean, it's great when people move really fast through Melaleuca, and that's certainly exciting. But he has who wins his heart are the people that sometimes take, 5, 8, 10 years to get to senior director because they didn't give up. And if somebody says money when you ask them, what's your why? You need to keep digging. In our 48-hour follow-up, that's one of the key questions that we they say, get personal with your personals, really find out what it is that's going to drive them so that you can remind them of that when they do get down, and they will, and there are those times, right? Keep digging if someone says it's money. Ultimately, we all want the same thing, and that is peace of mind, right? So until they get to a point where that's the answer or something around that, then you want to kind of dig a little deeper. So if you're struggling to discover for yourself what your real why is, let's just take a look at what's important to you. Is it time, income, flexibility, your family, being prepared for retirement? That's kind of, with Social Security in the state that it's in, a little scary of a thought. But I mean, some of us just put these blinders on and don't want to think about that, and what retirement life is going to be like, and who's going to take care of us. Getting out of debt, maybe today, maybe that's the most important, critical, on top thing for you. Is it educating your children, helping others, doing something, having the flexibility, financial freedom to be able to do for others what you want to do for them? Just figuring out what's important to you. And what are you willing to sacrifice? That's the other key piece about what it takes. Sacrifice. It doesn't take a lot of sacrifice, guys, to get to director, even director 3. It takes some little bit of sacrifice, but to get to senior director and executive director, it does take sacrifice, whether it's time, money, your hobbies for a period of time. I remember Bruce Newby, who's an avid golfer, saying on their path to corporate director that he gave up, he announced and committed to giving up golf for 2 years until they reached corporate director. Well, guess what? He can play golf anytime he wants on any course he wants in the world because he now has the financial ability to do that for a 2-year sacrifice. Do you think that was worth it? Absolutely. Maybe it's travel, and remembering too that it's temporary. That's a great example. Bruce's the 2-year commitment to give up golf. There are plenty of times, instead of schlepping out in the cold and the rain, the snow, that I'd rather be snuggling at home on the couch with my family, right? Or times when maybe I've already done 3 or 4 presentations or trainings that day, and a new business builder calls and asks me to walk their prospect through an overview. And knowing how critical it is for that new person, you have to muster the energy to do it again. That's what sets apart the people that do become senior and executive directors from those that are not willing to make those kind of sacrifices. Whether you build your business or not, 5 years is going to pass anyway. What do you want that 5th year to look 5 years from now to look like? So making the decision now and doing it, and just brings up another great example. I hear my enroller Rebecca talking often about the gal that she met who was practically in tears at the 48-hour follow-up, sharing how badly she needed money and wanted to build a business for her family. And when she calls her a week later to invite her to bring guests to an in-home that she was hosting, she said, well, that's American Idol night. Okay, so that person is not willing, clearly, to make the sacrifice needed, because that should just not even be, Anyway, you get it. So transition. Once you make a decision, then it's kind of a matter of character, right? It's carrying that decision out. And Frank makes, Frank quotes often Hiram Smith, who said the ability to carry out a worthy decision after the emotion of making that decision has passed is the definition of character. So once you've determined why you want this and what you're willing to give up to make it happen, and believe that you have the fortitude to see your decision through, right, the character, next is deciding what you really want out of this. And it reminds me of this quote from Alice in Wonderland where Alice asks the Cheshire Cat for directions. Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here? That depends a good deal on where you want to get to, said the cat. I don't much care where, said Alice. Then it doesn't matter which way you go, said the cat. Right? So what is measured is improved, right? We need to know exactly where we want to end up. And 95% of people are looking to be led by the 5% that know where they're going. Is that not so true? SMART goals, you've heard this before, our goals need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based, because what is measured is improved. What we pay attention to, what we focus on, can't help but expand. Work backwards. Determine what it is that you want long-term and then break it down into bite-sized pieces. Use Melaleuca's annual income statistics. It's sort of a roadmap. It's so awesome that we have that. Right? So I'll give you another example. Rebecca at one point needed 4,000 points for an advancement, and that sounds like a lot of points, right, for somebody. But when you break it down into bite-sized pieces, which she said, very nonchalant, because this is her mindset. Well, if you think about it, I basically just need to develop 4 Director 2s, right? Because a D2 is 20 customers, which is 1,000 points, times 4 is the 4,000 points that she needs. Is that the way that, you break it down? Is that the way that you think? Because if not, when we get caught up in the overwhelm of how many points and how many customers and things like that, versus thinking like, okay, well, what I really need to do is I need to just find other people that I use as leverage in a sense to bring the volume that I need, team up and help some people who really want to have a game changer financially in their own lives. And by helping enough other people, as Zig Ziglar always said, get what they want, I will achieve my goals. So, and then lastly, become accountable, and figure out to whom. It could be your enroller, it could be your support team. The regionals are phenomenal. If you have not been in touch with your regional director at corporate at Melaleuca, you need to make that call. Look, Monday they're going to get flooded, but I'm serious. We work with Suzanne Hobbs and Ross Foster very closely because just having people in those regions, but they are really an asset to us and a resource that we can go to that can help us on a lot of different levels, but you're not going to really know how until you have a conversation with them. Ask them, what can you do for me? How can you help me in my business? And get to know them and form a relationship with them. They really are tremendous. Did everybody else lose me too, or just Donna? Okay, hopefully you guys can still hear me. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Having a sense of urgency, okay, so maybe Donna will figure out from those comments that it was on her end. Goals load the gun, but action pulls the trigger, right? That's what it's ultimately going to take, is you actually, the one thing I wish I could do for folks in getting them going, I'm not about overtraining. That's something I've learned the hard way. I used to spend all this time up front training. And now what I'm realizing is that until someone's going to take action, the right actions, and do it themselves consistently, like that's the one piece in Melaleuca why they, are not moving forward, is they're not making enough calls. It's always going to go back to that. And as Sandy Seaman says, just do more, make more approaches, make more calls, go to more networking things, more presentations, and then you'll get more enrollments. You'll find more business builders, and your business will move forward. The action is what pulls the trigger, and that's the piece that your support team and your enroller can't do for you. So learn while you earn. Figure it out with your enroller as you go, and as you're actually doing the activities, you will learn how to build the business. Get out of the classroom and into the field. Most enrollments are going to happen in the first 90 days with a new person when they're filled with excitement and possibility, and they have this contact list to go to, right? Yes, absolutely, Sherry. I can't agree with you more. Overtraining definitely can get people bogged down. So give them just enough information to get them going, and then go and have them actually do. And the other thing I learned is that, people will only go. A number of people are only going to go so far. And so if you've spent all these hours or minutes of your time training beyond the first step, teaching people, for example, the compensation plan up to senior director when they haven't even made calls to get themselves to director yet, is a waste of everybody's time. Yeah, I mean, that's been my experience. Like, let's just get the director thing out of the way, get the job done. Let them see what it's like to enroll 8 customers. Let them see what's involved, how much, both emotional energy and time and whatever is involved in that. But definitely try to help new business builders get enrollment within 72 hours. It's going to create a story, it's going to create excitement, it's going to create possibility for them, and they'll get to see, okay, I did this, I can do this. This isn't as scary or complicated as I thought. You have one shot at creating your story, so make it a good one. That's what having a sense of urgency is all about. And then what you do duplicates, good or bad. I want to go back to the story thing for just a second, because I was speaking yesterday with a business builder that was a director of mine from years ago, who's looking at sort of coming back to getting started again. And she was a little bit intimidated about this thought of, well, but I haven't been successful, I didn't do whatever. And, my point to her was, you know what, let's turn that into a positive and make it part of your story that, when I first set up my account to shop, I, became a shopper, fell in love with the products, and I've been shopping for all this time. I had referred a couple of friends and family because it obviously just made sense to do so. I really wanted to turn some of my friends and family on these products right away. But I've just recently decided to really develop a business and go forward. And so you can create a news story if you need to, if you fall in that category of a person who maybe had stopped, built for a little while and then stopped building, just, make it part of your story, but turn it into a positive that you've been a customer. That should say something to the other person that says, wow, this person wasn't building a business, wasn't, doing this to make money, but stayed a customer. So, a smart person's going to pick up on that. I mean, somebody who's business minded is going to pick up on how that's actually a really good thing. And what you do duplicates, good or bad. So yeah, just make sure that every time someone comes to me with an idea, or what do you think about this, and what if I did it this way, or how about if I do this thing, to build my business, I'm always looking at it from a standpoint of, what are the people in the audience going to think, or what are the people on the other side of that experience going to think? Are they going to think, geez, to build this business, I have to do X? So in other words, I try not to overcomplicate things. Just stick to the program, because clearly it works, right? I mean, we've seen people that have just duplicated that. This business is so duplicatable. Don't overcomplicate it, and don't get too far out of the realm of that, and just always be asking yourself, is this duplicatable? When you come up with an idea, say, can other people do this as well, right? Wow, that's awesome, Alice. Well, welcome back. And then lastly, I really want to address discouragement, because, or not lastly, but as part of this, I really want to address discouragement, because that's probably the most paralyzing part for some people, is when they get discouraged. You need to come into this expecting difficulty. And Jason Fisher came to Baltimore about a year ago as our keynote speaker on our Road to Senior conference. And he spoke a lot about having a no matter what mindset and the importance of getting the attitude piece right. Here are some of the things that he shared with us. Expect difficulty. Expect it. Don't wait until things calm down. Life is always going to give you some kind of challenge or test, right? So it's part of the process. Just know that. And don't buy into your own excuses. The lies that we tell ourselves, things like, I can't, no one else wants to, the economy. I mean, we could go on, right? Because gosh knows, we all can go there. And that's what they are. They are excuses. Because if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you've all heard this before, you're right? So commit to the process. It is a journey. I talked with a business builder who came in sort of guns firing, right? I'm going to do this and I'm going to be this by this, date and whatever. And then they got their second check. And reality kind of settled in a little bit. And it was a little bit of a blow for this person because they got $1,000 for that promotion in the first month. And then the second month's check, I think, was $75 or something because that was their residuals and not a whole lot else happened in that second month. I think it was the holidays and whatnot. And the point being that, right, Eric? The point being that this is if this is a marathon, if we're looking at this for the long haul here, then it doesn't really matter much what happens from mile 2 to mile 3, right? If we've got 20 some miles to run, or however long a marathon is, you can tell I'm not a runner, then it's not as important as so much. And Sandy Siemens, I love the story that she tells in one of her best series about the couple she was working with. They missed like Director 5 by, I think, 35 product points or something really small. And she was so even afraid to talk to them and tell them. And she called and said, did you guys hear? And they were on to talking about the in-home coming up. And she's like, wait, no, did you guys hear? You guys missed Director 5 by, X points. It's just like a customer or two. And they said, yeah, we heard you, but we're not looking to get to Director 5. We're looking to get to senior. Our goal is senior director. That's what they were focused on. So, I mean, imagine how discouraging it might have been to miss, Director 5 and the advancement bonus and everything that goes along with that by one customer or something. But they weren't focused on Director 5. Their focus was on senior. So even though we need to break it down and put our time and energy into getting to the next step, longer term, to overcome discouragement, you want to be focused on where it is you want to end up longer term, not just now, right? That was just something that for me really, when she shared that story, was moving to me. And don't be the person, guys, that, whines, well, I lost 2 directors. Jason says, go lose another 2 or 3, because that's part of the game. Exactly, Sherry, long game. That's part of the game. If you lost 2 directors, lose 2 or 3 more. Make that the game. Go out and develop enough that you end up losing 2 or 3 more directors, because believe me, you talk to any executive director, even senior directors, and even though you need 5 directors to be a senior director and 10 directors to be an executive director, I guarantee every senior and executive director has developed 2 to 3 times that many directors on the path to senior and executive director. Not all directors are going to stay directors. Know that going into it. Just trying to get real with y'all. And don't allow people to decide how you feel, right? Don't allow others to rent space in your head. Go inside. Know what you want out of this and what you're willing to sacrifice to get there. There are so many negative people in this world. And if we allow those people to get into our head, you're giving up a lot to them, to those people. Don't do that. Work with the willing and the positive. Bless and release the people that aren't engaged, the people that aren't willing to get out of their own way to do the activities. It doesn't mean you're not going to be their friend. It doesn't mean that you're not going to check in with them and keep them in the loop of what's going on, but don't spend your time with people listening to them give you all the excuses why they can't build this business and why, what came up for them this time. Just work with the willing. Spend your time with the people that are coming to the webcasts, coming to the in-homes, coming to the trainings, coming to the calls, that are calling you, that are texting you, that are, in the game. That's who you spend your time with. Here's Murda Smith, who is an executive director for, I believe, in my organization. I absolutely admire and love Murda on so many levels. She's an amazing, amazing woman. And she said one time in a training she did for our group in Baltimore, if you went to work on Monday and you had the worst day ever, what would you do on Tuesday? You'd go back to work, right? That's because, you have a job, that's what you do. So why are you willing to work harder for someone else than you are for yourself? Something to think about. And then posture, another keyword you'll hear about in Melaleuca all the time, having posture and setting realistic expectations. So what is posture? Posture is having the confidence that you know what you know and they know that you know, right? So someone recently shared with me they were having trouble making approaches because they don't like asking people for help. They don't like asking people for anything. And that was a culture I grew up in. That was very much the message I got from my parents. We don't ask outsiders. We don't ask people for help for anything, really. But I had to get over that, and I did this with regard to Melaleuca and helped this business builder by asking her some questions. Does Melaleuca pass the test? Are you convinced yourself that the products are good? Even better, maybe, than what's available, safer, greener, cost-effective? She said yes. Are you convinced that it's convenient? I mean, what could be more convenient than at-your-door delivery, right? She said yes, absolutely. Are you convinced it's completely risk-free? Meaning that, 4-month trial membership, 100% satisfaction guarantee if someone doesn't like products? Yes. Are you convinced it's a real business based on real products going to real people? Yes, she was convinced. And probably most importantly, are you convinced that no one can get hurt? And she said yes. And it took her a moment to really let these questions settle in and for her to realize, then who is this really for? When you approach someone, who's it really for? Is it for you or is it for them? And if whatever your issues are, wherever those fears are coming up, whether it's upon the approach, upon the close, doing follow-up, make sure that they're not your issues that you're projecting onto them. That's often what I find where people get stuck, is that you're making it about yourself versus making this about how you can enhance their life. And if you do believe that Melaleuca passes the test and that the products are good, it's convenient, it's completely risk-free, that it's a real business and that no one can get hurt, then why would you not want to scream it from the mountaintops? Why would you not want everyone to know that there are these products that can help them? So Melaleuca, I don't know, if you're aware, has created more 6-figure income earners than any other company in the past 10 years. Oh, Sherry. So think about your last JOB. You know what JOB stands for, right? Just over broke. So think about your last job or two. And when you started, how long was your training period? Was it a couple of hours? A couple of days? A couple of weeks? So if this is a business that you're taking seriously, why would you think it would be any different? To give it a fair chance, you really need to invest some time in learning the business and learning how to do it well. And the best way to do that, is to do the business and learn, again, while you earn while you learn, but cut yourself some slack and don't expect perfection from the start. That's uncomfortable for a lot of people. We're so used to doing what we've been doing because we're good at that, right? This is new. This is different. This can be scary. It can be frustrating. It's maybe way out of your comfort zone. Well, it's supposed to be. Your success lies just outside of your comfort zone. And the difference, again, between the people that are successful and those who aren't is just 10% more effort. It's just a little bit of extra effort in Melaleuca that gives you exponential growth. And going back to Jim McCune's quote, the things you do today that you don't have to do will determine what you'll have and what you'll be when you're no longer able to do anything about it. So go out there and do it. I believe you have what it takes. Thank you so much for attending our training today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to turn the recording off at this time, but we'll make it available to everybody and send that link out through Connecting from Home. Thank you guys. Go out and have a great February.